If you go to the Drudge Report, and I think it'll still be up, there's a story that talks about Trump having hand cuts, and you can link to it. They don't look like cuts to me, they look like sores. And I've asked a number of MDs what medical condition manifests itself through hand sores, and the answer is immediate and unanimous: secondary syphilis. All right, I think there's a good chance this man has the clap, and I'm not being particularly secretive about it. I am texting the photo. You can link to it. It's in some operation called the Daily Mail. It's some British thing. It's probably a Fleet Street rag, but maybe the picture was doctored or whatever. But maybe the story will go somewhere. Maybe it won't. But I'm telling you, at 1 o'clock Eastern, I'm humping this thing like a young dog on old furniture. Well, I have an idea for the Iowa caucuses. Why don't you just do a Ann Seltzer poll the weekend before they have the caucus and just go with that as opposed to going to all the trouble and have people go out in the cold and go and do it, because it as it always was, it was as accurate as a poll could possibly be. And let me tell you, you got to be a really good poster to nail the Iowa caucuses. It's not like trying to nail a general election where you have a lot of people vote or certain to vote, anything like that. I have a little more negative, well, maybe more than a little more negative Trump take than you do. If it was a contested Democrat, any kind of contest, and it was Biden against any couple of three Democrats or one Democrat, and he got 51, it'd be the fucking end of days. I mean, I know we're dating ourselves. We're going back to Gene McCarthy in New Hampshire in 1968. He got 42%. That's in an old white, now Republican state, that an incumbent, and Trump is an incumbent, I'm sorry, he just is, can get only 51% against, by the way, which have turned out to be not overly impressive opponents. I mean, DeSantis is almost a laughing stock now. And Nikki Haley she's, she's helium light. I mean, she's a real featherweight, and she looked decent on paper. DeSantis looked, even better on paper, and they just had nothing. And Trump, and I don't know, when you look at the entrance polls, I want to be careful to call them entrance polls. The third party is going to get a lot of fucking votes in 2024. I'm just telling you, it just it's going to get a lot unless something really changes, and hard for me to see the change. But I was less impressed with this than most people. Well, look. The only thing that's going to deal with this election denial are the actuarial tables. All right, but 2 to 1. That's 66 and 2/3 to 33 and a third, roughly. 33 and a third of your own party is a pretty freaking big number. I mean, you can look at it one or two ways. You can look at it, and I mean, but to our listeners, viewers, you can look at it. He won by 30, or you can look at it. He was won over 50. All right, you can say, well, gee, by 2 to 1, they believe this, and you go, well, that's an impressive number, but 1/3. It ain't chopped liver. And I mean, there are substantial doubts among more than a sliver of the Republican Party about this guy. And how, of course, there's substantial doubt, to be fair. There are substantial doubts by more than a sliver of the Democratic Party that have their doubts about President Biden. I just, hard for me not to see a uninspiring election with the third party doing really well, and and we got to do obviously everything possible to reelect Joe Biden. It's kind of a life mission here, but this is going to be a challenging endeavor. And there's a lot you can say negative about no labels. I've said a lot negative about it. My own view is it's a grift. We don't disclose where the fundraisers that coming to the list. We got some billionaires getting together and giving a bunch of money, and we're not going to tell you who they are or how much they gave. And we're a really fresh new party. Of course, I think the whole premise of it is pretty much staggering bullshit. However, the one thing you can't say is there's not a market for this, because there is a market. And if, you know, if it's no labels, if it's RFK, you know, his quirkiness and goofiness, you know, I can see that appealing to certain unenthusiastic voters. You know, Jill Stein wasn't much. She won in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by more than Hillary lost by. Ralph Nader got, I don't know, 2% in Florida, cost Al Gore the election. You don't need much, and I think you're going to get. My view is you're going to get more than a little bit now. It, my fear is it's going to somewhat break away from us. I don't know that, but it's my great fear. But little, they're not going to get 3% of the vote. They're going to get a shitload more than that, and it may be, as Perot was the case at 92. It didn't matter in the end. If he wouldn't, if he would have been in there, it'd have been the same result. That's pretty much studied to the nth degree. But you don't know. It's a variable that we don't exactly know how it's going to turn out. And if it turns out wrong, it's bye bye Constitution.